Tell me once my screen is visible to you.
Yes, ma'am.
Is the PPT visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. So as discussed, we'll be starting with speaking question types today. Okay. Now we already know that we have four question types in speaking basically, and we are already done with our reading question types and listening question types. Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Any questions with that as of now?
No, ma'am.
No, right? Okay. No worries. Just 1 second and we'll start. So as I said, we'll be starting with speaking question types. Now, we already know that we have integrated tasks in our speaking and writing skills, correct? In TOEFL. What do we mean by integrated task? Tell me.
Two things at a time.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Give me examples.
Um,
Whatever you
like I
understand.
did,
Whatever you understand when we say integrated.
like I pursued BA That's an integrated course. We pursued two things at a time. That we have to do BA as well as law.
Okay, very good. Same way over here in our speaking tasks, you might have, say, along with speaking, you will also be reading and listening. Okay,
Yes.
example, the way we do it in a live lecture, the way you are doing it right now. You are reading something which is given on the screen. Okay, same thing I will be explaining in audio format or listening format to you. Correct? Now you take both these material, that is your reading as well as the audio, and you summarize it in your own words. Okay, that is what we mean by integrated task over here. What you said was also correct, but when we say integrated task in speaking, that's what we are trying to say over here. Okay, the way we do it in a live lecture. Now,
Okay.
how it is easier when you have integrated tasks, here you don't have to think about what you have to speak about. Correct? There is some background noise from your side. Okay.
Sorry.
It's okay. Do you have a
They
dog?
are. Yes, ma'am.
Ah, okay. No
I
problem.
have four. That makes a lot of noise.
Really? Wow. Okay. That might be tedious.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, as I was saying, how it becomes easier when you have integrated tasks, you don't have to think much of what you have to speak. You just need to use your language skills and summarization skills, and you have to just uh, summarize whatever you have heard or read. Okay, that's why it becomes a bit easier when you're doing integrated tasks. Okay, now overall the speaking section is of 16 minutes, we know that. Okay, and we have four tasks. As I said, the first task will always be an independent task. What do we mean by independent task? 1 second. What do we mean by independent task? Here you will just be given a topic which is based on your personal choice, and based on those choice you have to speak. Okay,
Okay.
then your task number 2, task number 3, and task number 4 are your integrated tasks. Okay, now before that we must understand that when we talk about speaking section, they are basically trying to assess your speaking skills. Okay, they are not trying to see your thought process, they are not trying to see what you feel is right or wrong. No, they are just worried whether you are able to speak properly, whether you will be able to survive in English speaking environment. Okay, that's what they are
Yes.
purely looking at. So even the vocabulary that you use, it needs to be good level of vocabulary. Now, of course you can use basic level of vocabulary also, but I would say use mid level of vocabulary. That's a good vocabulary, but you don't need to use very high level of vocabulary also. They are not asking you to be Sashi Tharoor, because even if you use Sashi Tharoor level of words, the other person should be able to understand what you're trying to say. Correct?
Yes. Yes.
That's why use mid level of vocabulary. And even in audio and the reading format, you will see, which you must have already observed in the last few sessions, the vocabulary is mid level, it's not very high level. Okay, if you are a good, if you're a speaker of English since childhood, you will understand what is being said over there. Okay, you will
Yes.
hardly get any words which are, say, high level, and even if you don't know those words, you will still be able to gauge the meaning. Okay, that's one way.
Mom,
Now,
If we are not able to understand the words, what we can do?
You can still try to understand, gauge the meaning from the context it is being
Acha.
used, correct?
Okay,
For
okay.
example, you asked me one word yesterday. I don't remember the word now, but I was able to tell you the way it was used in the sentence, correct, what it means.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
that's how refute. You asked me the meaning of refute, correct?
Yes,
So
ma'am.
if you look at it in the sentence, you will be able to understand what it means. Okay, so
Mm.
एकदम भी high level of vocabulary नहीं है कि we don't know that word at all. ऐसा नहीं होता है, बहुत कम बार वैसे होता है. Now this is an internet based test, we already know that, correct? So your response will be recorded over here, your speaking response will be recorded over here. Okay, the mic will open up automatically and it will close automatically according to the timer. Before it opens up, it will show you few seconds on the screen and you know when to start speaking. It will be recorded directly and it will be automatically submitted, okay, to ETS. ETS is the test maker basically. Now ETS assesses those speaking tasks based on your AI and humans as well. So you have AI raters as well as human raters. Okay, your test is basically assessed by four people or four different raters, we can say. One is AI, three are humans. Okay, this goes for speaking as well as your writing. Okay, it's not only assessed by one person, it is assessed by multiple people, and whatever highest score you get, that score is taken as your official score. Okay, for example, in speaking you have four tasks and for each task you get 4 points, okay, or four marks, we can say. So say one speaker has given you 3, other speakers also, sorry, one rater has given you 3 and the other rater has also given you 3, but the third rater has given you 3.5 and even AI has given you 3.5, then you will get a score of 3.5. Okay, so whichever is the highest score, you will get that score. It will not be average or cumulative as such. Okay,
No, three have given three and one have given 3.5.
yes,
Then
still you will
also
get
3.5.
3.5. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so whatever is the highest score out of 4, that's what you will get. Clear?
Okay.
Of course, there are parameters which are supposed to be followed, which the raters usually follow, and there is a calibration also done. So that's how it is rated. Okay. Now, any questions with the rating or how it is assessed or how
No,
it
ma'am.
is recorded? Okay, you understood that, right? Now,
Ma'am, just a question, please.
tell me.
Ma'am, for the task, we are going to given time for preparations as well, na?
Yes, yes, you get
And what?
15 to 20 seconds to prepare. Not a lot of time, but yeah, at least few seconds to gather your thoughts.
And for speaking?
For speaking, yeah, for speaking itself you'll get 45 seconds to 60 seconds. With each task, I will explain that to you. Don't worry.
Okay.
Okay. Now,
Yes.
uh, just like the way we do it in the classroom, you have to respond to questions, you have to participate in academic discussions with other students, you have to synthesize and summarize the information which is presented in the textbook and heard in the class. The same way your tasks will also be there. Even outside the classrooms, you know that you have to partake in casual conversations with your classmates, with your uh, service encounters that happen on the campus. So same way your responses will be over here as well. As I said, the first task will always be a paired choice task, which is also called independent task. Okay, here you, the test taker, will be given a statement. Okay, example, what do you prefer, studying in a cafe, in a library, or at home? This is one example of a question. Okay, the way you will get a question. Now, as I said, it was a choice based question. Now they have given you three choices over here. What do you prefer, studying in a cafe, library, or at home? Correct. So now over here you pick up any one choice. Okay, say you like studying at home like me, then you will say I prefer studying at home and you will defend your answer by giving your own examples. Okay,
Can.
now the way we do it in India, you will not try to do it that way. What we do in India is we try to give examples of each and every choice that is given to us, correct? As an Indian, you will try to you'll try to talk about studying at home, like the benefits of studying at home, benefits of studying at a cafe, benefits of studying in a library. Here, you don't have to do anything like that. Understand this, as I said, they are just giving you a topic to speak. Okay, they are not trying to assess of how you give advantages or disadvantages of something. You just need to speak over here and you need to give your own examples over here. Okay, and you have 45 seconds to speak, 15 seconds to prepare. In those 45 seconds, the most important thing that you have to take care about is you have to introduce your answer, you have to give enough examples, and you have to conclude your answer also. It could be a very short conclusion, but you will still conclude it. Hence, I prefer studying at home. That's it. That could be your conclusion, but you still need to say that line. Okay, that assures your 4 out of 4 score. Okay,
Yes, sir.
another thing that you have to remember in speaking as well as writing, that you will not try to use lot of tenses. You will stick to one tense. In particular, you will stick to simple present tense. Okay, how to use simple present tense, I'm going to share a short video which is there on our channel itself, but I will share that video with you, and in upcoming sessions I'll cover it for you also.
Okay.
Okay, how to use simple present tense, what are the rules for simple present tense. Max to max, for this particular answer you can use simple past tense. Okay, simple past tense is where you just give some examples from your past. For example, last week I went out with my classmate to study in a cafe, so that's a simple past tense ki ek example you just give it in your simple past tense, but most of your answer should be in simple present tense. Now I am saying this, if I don't keep this as a rule, what happens is we while speaking use lot of tenses. Okay, and in
Yes.
mixture of tenses we tend to forget which tense we have to stick to, and that's where our answer goes wrong grammatically then. Okay, especially when our language skills are good. So that is the reason I say that stick to one tense. It helps, and it helps more in writing. Okay, in writing we tend to use lot of tenses, so that's where we stick to one tense and use it overall. How to do that, I'll tell you, don't worry. Okay, so that's one thing that you have to remember while your speaking task is being attempted. Okay, now here let us watch a quick video. Here again you will get a example question also, and you will also get a sample audio which is a response submitted by the student, so you will also understand how basic level of answer they are expecting from you. Okay, you don't need very high language skills for TOEFL. That's one plus point I would say. If your English is good, you can easily score 90 above तो easily आ ही जाता है, 100 above भी easily कर सकते हो. Okay,
Yes, sir.
yeah. So let us just watch this video quickly.
Hi, I'm Michael from ETS, and welcome to Inside the TOEFL Test. Today, we're going to go inside the speaking section of the TOEFL test, specifically question 1, the independent speaking question. So in the next few minutes, we're going to look at how the question is structured, how to approach the question, how your response is scored. We'll look at a sample response that received a high score, and we'll give you some tips for improving your speaking skills. So here's generally what question 1 will look like. For this task, you'll be given a topic to speak about with no additional reading or listening passages. You will have 15 seconds to prepare your response and 45 seconds to speak your answer. Now, 15 seconds is actually longer than you think, and if you feel like you need more time, just remember that professors at university aren't going to give you more time than that to answer questions in class. Now let's look more closely at what the independent speaking questions will be asking you to do. In question 1, you'll be presented with 2 situations or opinions. You will be asked which you prefer, and you need to explain your choice. Here's an example.
Some people think it is more fun to spend time with friends in restaurants or cafes. Others think it is more fun to spend time with friends at home.
So this is how your question would be framed. Okay, am I audible? Yeah. This is how
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
simple your question would be. Okay, now only thing that you have to stick to, which I usually prefer, is that stick to the wordings which are given. Okay, for example, when I gave you the example, it started with what do you prefer, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So stick to the word prefer over there. I prefer. Here, if you see, the question starts with think. Which do you think is better? Then you will start off with something like, I think spending time with friends in restaurant is better. Okay, so it shows that okay, you have understood the question and you're trying to frame it the same way. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Home. Which do you think is better? Explain why.
Now here are some tips for how to approach these kinds of speaking questions. Number one, use the preparation time to organize your thoughts and maybe jot down some notes. Don't try to write a full response because you won't have time. And the raters scoring your response want to hear you speaking, not reading, and they can tell the difference. Number two, don't memorize responses before the test, especially ones that you get from the internet or from test prep instructors who say that's a good idea. It's not, and it will lower your score. It's very easy for ETS raters to identify memorized responses because they sound different, and the content is different from responses that are more natural and spontaneous. Number three, it's not necessary to organize your response into an introduction, a middle, and a conclusion like you would with a written essay. Just speak naturally and use common connecting words. Some of those are because, so, after that, on the other hand, I want to mention, and what this means is. Before the test, make sure you understand what the raters are looking for and how the questions are scored. In the speaking section, all responses are scored on a scale from 0 to 4, and they're scored holistically, which means that the raters listen for various features in your response and then give it an overall score. Although there are some variations depending on the question, raters will be looking for three main things. First, delivery. Your speech needs to be clear and fluid, with good pronunciation. The pace or speed of your speech should be natural, and you should have good sounding intonation patterns.
Okay, now what do we mean by clear and fluid speech? First thing that we have to understand that the way we speak naturally. Okay, now just because we have 45 seconds over here, we'll not try to rush. Okay, we'll not try to be the announcer for the mutual funds. Okay, we'll try to speak in a normal, natural pace.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, first thing and foremost, we'll remember our speech should be clear. The words that we are trying to say, they should be pronounced clearly. Okay, and the way we speak naturally. The pronunciations should be the actual pronunciations of English. That is, not there shouldn't be any kind of mother tongue influence. Okay,
Okay, ma'am.
the example could be many people for school they say school, correct? So those kind of pronunciation mistakes should not be there. They should be natural English pronunciations. The way I said, the pacing should be good. It should not be very slow as well as it should not be very fast. Normal pace. Now when I speak in class, I speak very slowly, of course, because I'm training you guys, but otherwise it should be a natural pace, the way we speak naturally. And the intonations should be proper. What do we mean by intonations? Intonations are the way our pitch goes up and down. Okay, for example, when you're listening to me, you understand where my full stops are. You understand when I'm asking you a question. How do you understand that? Based on the pronunciation, sorry, based on the intonations that I use, based on how my tone or pitch goes up and down. Correct? So when your full stops are there, your intonation should be proper again. That's what is required over here. Okay, of
Okay,
course,
ma'am.
along with good language and good vocabulary, where we talk about no grammatical errors, no major grammatical errors. Minor are still okay. Minor errors are not marked negatively over here. But yeah, if they are major grammatical errors, if they change the meaning of the sentence, then yes, of course, it changes the whole context. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Second, language use. This is mainly how you use grammar and vocabulary to express your ideas. And third, topic development. This is mainly how fully you answer the question, how clearly you express your ideas, and how you can connect one idea to the next in a way that is easy to follow. Now let's listen to an example of a speaking response that received the highest score of 4 out of 4. This is responding to the question about spending time with friends.
Okay, this is an example response. Listen to it. See how it is framed.
I actually only spend time with my friends in restaurants and cafes, almost never at home because my apartment is very small and there is just almost nothing to do. On the outside and in cafes and restaurants, it's much more.
Ma'am, can you please
There are
play
more
the audio
people. The
again?
atmosphere is usually good.
You want me to replay it from the
Yes,
start?
ma'am.
Okay, 1 second.
Now let's listen to an example of a speaking response that received the highest score of 4 out of 4. This is responding to the question about spending time with friends.
I actually only spend time with my friends in restaurants and cafes, almost never at home because my apartment is very small and there is just almost nothing to do. On the outside and in cafes and restaurants, it's much more. There are more people. The atmosphere is usually good, and maybe there's some music playing, or we usually meet to discuss things and meet other people and meet people we do not know, possibly. There's always a chance to get to know someone, and it's always exciting. For me, it is much more exciting than just staying at home and in the environment that I know and I'm familiar with. I think that's boring.
Now let's look at this response in terms of our 3 main criteria: delivery, language use, and topic development. First, delivery. His flow of speech is good, and he's easy to understand. And he's able to sustain his speech for the full 45 seconds without repeating himself.
My apartment is very small and there is just almost nothing to do.
With language use, his language is simple and direct, and he chooses his words accurately. He doesn't need to use overly complex vocabulary.
There are more people. The atmosphere is usually good, and maybe there's some music playing. Or
Topic development is also strong. He starts by stating his preference for cafes and also says why he doesn't meet his friends at his home, because his apartment is too small and there's almost nothing to do there. And he gives several reasons why cafes are better for him. There's a better atmosphere, often there is music, and he can meet new people.
there's always a chance to get to know someone, and it's always exciting.
So overall, this meets the criteria for a score of 4 out of 4. For more details about how the independent speaking responses are scored, see the speaking scoring rubrics on the TOEFL website. Now here are some activities that can help you build the skills you need for the independent speaking tasks. Most important for these questions is that you need to practice speaking continuously for 45 seconds or more. So it's a good idea to have a stopwatch or other timer to use while practicing. Number 1, find a way to practice with native speakers or others who know English well, or join an English club, or start one of your own. 2, collect pictures from magazines, newspapers, or the internet. Look at each picture and describe it in 45 seconds. Try describing the same picture more than once, using different adjectives and adding details. 3, think for 15 seconds about what you did yesterday. Then talk about it for 45 seconds. Remember to use your connecting words and use verbs in the past tense. You can do the same thing to talk about what you will do tomorrow, using verbs in the future tense. 4, practice making a recommendation. Find a topic that you're interested in and explain why your idea is the best way to proceed. There are lots.
Okay, clear with this? Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Any questions with the first task?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Shall we move to the second task then?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, the second task is a little different from the first task, of course. It's very different from the first task. Over here, it's a campus-based situation that you have. Okay. Say a campus or your university has basically put forward a notification about the upcoming developments in the university. Okay, let's take one example. Say the university is planning to increase the fees from the next academic year. Okay, so that university notification is put up on the notice board. Okay, so you will have that campus related issue reading passage, which would be approximately 90 to 115 words long. Okay, you have to first read that notification. You have to take notes of those notification also, because that notification will not come up on the screen again. Okay, you will just note it briefly what it is talking about. Yeah, now you get around 45 seconds to 50 seconds to read this notification. It's a very short para, that's why you don't get a lot of time for this. Okay, based on this notification, two students will be conversing with each other. Okay, here they will be talking about the reading passage which is given to you, a notification which is given to you at the start. Okay, say we just took an example that okay, the university has planned to increase the fee from the next academic year. So one student will put forward his or her opinion, which will be a kind of a strong opinion, that okay, why they are increasing the fees again. Already we don't have a good infrastructure, already the fees is high, we are working two part-time jobs to afford the fees, the infrastructure is not good, say we don't have this facility or that facility which is offered by the other university, anything that comes to his or her mind. Okay, the other student might agree with the student or might give us something about, like, from university's perspective also. He or she might not have very strong opinions, but the other student will have very strong opinion. Now usually the question which is asked to you will be about the student who has very strong opinion. Okay, so you will make notes about both the students what they are saying, but mostly you will be asked about that one particular student. Okay, as I said, the question will ask you as a test taker to summarize the opinion of the one speaker who has very strong opinion about the reading passage. Okay, here you get preparation time of 30 seconds after listening to the audio. Okay, and you get 60 seconds to speak. So you have to summarize everything that is spoken by that student in 60 seconds. Okay, you don't need to talk much about the reading passage over here. You can just say that okay, university is planning to increase the fee from the next academic year, and whatever the student is saying, you will put forward that in your own words. You will rephrase, you will paraphrase. Okay,
So this is all about listening and
and
uh,
reading. Yeah,
giving about the crux of the conversation in my own
exactly.
words.
Exactly. Okay, now you have to remember in question number 2, 3, and 4 of speaking, nowhere you will give your opinion. You will purely talk about whatever has been presented to you in reading as well as listening. You will not give your opinion. You will not say, I agree with the student, I agree with whatever she is saying. No, not needed. You just have to be a reporter based on whatever you just have to report based on whatever you have heard or read.
So ma'am, only in the first task we have to give our
Yes,
personal opinions and
yes,
talk about things we believe in,
exactly.
but in the other all three tasks we don't have to do any of that.
Exactly. Understood?
Okay,
Here
ma'am.
you just purely talk about whatever has been presented to you in reading and speaking format. Okay, audio
Okay.
format. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. That's how easy it is, but of course, when you have to take notes, that's where it becomes a bit difficult. Okay, but don't worry, in the future sessions, we'll be practicing that also. Okay, let's quickly give a watch to this video where again you will get a sample task also.
Okay.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Michael from ETS, and welcome to Inside the TOEFL Test. Today, we're going to go inside the speaking section of the TOEFL test, specifically question 2, the integrated speaking questions about campus situations. So in the next few minutes, we're going to look at how the question is structured, how to approach the question, how your response is scored. We'll look at a sample response that received a high score, and we'll give you some tips for improving your speaking skills. So here's generally what question 2 will look like. You will read a passage about a campus-related topic. Then you will listen to a conversation about that topic. Then you will have 30 seconds to prepare your response and 60 seconds to speak your answer. Now let's look more closely at what campus situations questions look like and what they will be asking you to do. For question 2, where you have both reading and listening passages, you will be asked what the opinion is of a speaker in the listening passage. And you'll need to explain how that person's opinion relates to the issues presented in the reading passage. So you're essentially summarizing and combining information from two sources. Here's an example of this type of question.
That's true, but think about it. Have you ever seen the space completely full?
Well, no, I guess not.
Me either. There are never any events when the entire student body is there. In fact, there are usually just a small number of students in the audience for a play or a concert.
That's true.
So why make it bigger if it works as is?
I see what you mean.
The man expresses his opinion of the university's plan.
So this is how your question will be most of the times.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The man expresses or the woman expresses. Usually the man or the woman are the words which will be used because it's easier for you to identify. Okay. And usually there will be a man and a woman in the conversation. Usually it is also observed that the woman is the one who has strong opinions, okay, not the man. So that's another analysis of it, but of course, yeah. So the man expresses his opinion of the university's plan, university notification, blah blah, whatever the situation is given. State his opinion and explain the reasons he gives. So this is what you have to remember while taking notes also, that you will note down his opinion, his or her opinion, and you will explain the reasons that he or she uses, okay, for holding that opinion. So while taking notes, that's what you have to remember. These are the questions which will be asked. So you have to take notes accordingly. Clear?
Yes.
State his opinion and explain the reasons he gives for holding that opinion.
Now here are some tips for how to approach these kinds of speaking questions. Number 1, be careful not to speak too quickly, because this might make it difficult for the reader to understand you. The questions are designed so that if you speak at a normal pace, you will have enough time to give a complete response. And you'll get better at this if you time yourself when you practice. Number 2, in question 2, where you have the reading passage, then the conversation between two speakers, listen carefully to the speaker's reasons for agreeing or disagreeing with points made in the reading. Then make sure you summarize the opinion of the speaker in your answer. Before the test, make sure you understand what the raters are looking for and how the questions are scored. In the speaking section, all responses are scored on a scale from 0 to 4, and they're scored holistically, which means that the raters listen for various features in your response and then give it an overall score. Although there are some variations depending on the question, raters will be looking for 3 main things. First, delivery. Your speech needs to be clear and fluid, with good pronunciation. The pace or speed of your speech should be natural, and you should have good sounding intonation patterns. Second, language use. This is mainly how you use grammar and vocabulary to express your ideas. And third, topic development. This is mainly how fully you answer the question, how clearly you express your ideas, and how you can connect one idea to the next in a way that is easy to follow. Now let's listen to an example of a speaking response that received a score of 3 on a 4-point scale.
The school has decided to build a new auditorium, and because it will have a clean, modern appearance and it will be bigger to accommodate a larger student body. However, the man does not agree with this announcement for the following 2 reasons. First, the new auditorium is not a nice historic building as before, because the old building is an important part in the university's history, because it is among the first buildings built in the school. Second, the students actually haven't even seen the space is full. There is usually a small number of students in the old auditorium, so actually there is no need for the school to make it bigger. Also, making such decision allows the school to spend a lot of money, and it is not very good for the school. So I think this is not a good proposal.
Now let's look at this response in terms of our 3 main criteria: delivery, language use, and topic development. First, delivery. The speaker is generally easy to understand, with good pronunciation and pacing, so she gets a good score for delivery.
There is usually a small number of students in the old auditorium, so actually there is no need for the school to make it bigger.
But language use is another story. We can't give this response a 4 out of 4, mainly because of her imprecise use of language. One example is when she says this.
The new auditorium is not a nice historic building as before because
This is a little confusing, and could have been more precisely stated as, the man thinks that a new auditorium would not be as nice as keeping the old historic building.
actually haven't even
Topic development is good in this response. She communicates the important information in a clear and coherent way.
However, the man does not agree with this announcement for the following two reasons. First, the new auditorium is not a nice.
So overall, this meets all the criteria for a score of 3 out of 4. For more details about how the integrated speaking responses are scored, see the speaking scoring guides on the TOEFL website. Now here are some activities that can help you build your skills for the integrated speaking tasks. 1. Find an online newspaper from an English-speaking university. This will be a good source of practice topics for question 2. Look for topics like admissions, housing, student activities, registering for classes, school improvement plans, sports, and more. Then choose an article to discuss with your speaking partner or study group. 2. Record yourself when you practice and listen to how you speak. When you listen to yourself, you'll be able to hear some of your mistakes, as well as your tone and pacing. 3. Find listening and reading material that are both about the same topic. The material can contain similar or different views. Then prepare an outline of a 1-minute response that includes your opinion, 2 points to support your opinion, and 1 detail or reason to support each point. 4. Practice improving your fluency. So take that 1-minute presentation and deliver it a few times. And each time, try to improve it a little bit. Smooth out your phrasing. Use different wording for the same ideas. Avoid unnecessary pauses. Use transition words. Those kinds of things. There are lots of ways to improve your English skills. Whatever you do, keep practicing. And good luck on your TOEFL test.
Okay, clear with
Yes.
this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now the next task that we have is the task which is called integrated task again, but it is called specific academic course topic discussion basically. Okay, now over here for task number 3 specifically, you will get a reading passage again. Okay, but this reading passage will be pertinent to the specific topic which it is explaining. Okay, again, just like our reading text, this will be very general text which is given to you. It will be topic specific or subject specific, but they don't need any kind of subject expertise for this particular reading passage which you have. Okay, it might explain a term, a process, or an idea which is from an academic subject. Now again, you will take notes from
Okay.
this reading passage.
This third task is all about the academic subjects.
Academic course or specific academic course topic it is called, but it's very general. It won't be very topic specific. For example, say they are talking about how domestication started. Okay, animal domestication started, so it will be explaining that, and then again your professor will broaden or give us more inputs in the uh, excerpt of the lecture. Okay, now the way I was telling you, here you will be noting some points from the reading passage also, because the reading passage will not come on the screen again. Okay, for speaking, so you will briefly note down whatever you can in the given time period. Okay, it will be a very short text again, it won't be a very long text. Okay, it won't be 800 words long the way you had it in reading passage. It will be a very short passage which is given to you. Okay, when the audio starts, you will listen to the same topic but the professor will be explaining it. When the professor explains it, he will give us more examples, more information, more ideas about the same topic which was given to you in the reading passage. Now you as a test taker will combine the information or source from both the matter which has been given to you, okay, from the reading as well as the audio, and you will try to summarize the information which has been presented to you. Again, over here you have 30 seconds to prepare and 60 seconds to speak. Okay, understood how you have to do this task?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, the way you are doing it in the current lecture also, you'll be reading something which is given on the screen, you will be listening to me and adding on to whatever is given to the screen to you, and based on that you just have to summarize it, in your own words. Okay, but again, you will properly start the answer, you will follow the topic development, and then you will properly end the answer also. Okay, now for your question number 4, it's similar to question number 3, but in question number 3 you had reading passage as well as an audio. Correct? For question number 4, you only have an audio, you don't have reading. Okay, you just listen to a lecture, and based on whatever is being said in the lecture, you will try to summarize it in your own words, you will try to tell us the relationship between the ideas and the overall topics and the examples which has been presented. Now over here, the question always asks you, question number 4, they always ask you to define the topic and what are the examples used by the professor. So when you are listening to the audio, you will make a note of that definition which the professor has given, and you will also note down the examples and the way the professor has explained those examples. Okay, so that's what you have to remember.
So
Over
this
here,
is task 4 is all about.
listening to an audio and responding to it.
No, same as it is, but in the first one we have to give our opinion. Second one there is a conversation.
Hmm.
Third one there's a topic academic basis, and on
Hmm.
this fourth one
Same academic text will academic
academic.
lecture will be
Okay.
there. Okay, an excerpt from a lecture will be there which will be 90 seconds to 120 seconds long. Okay, so 2
Okay.
minutes to 3 minutes max, इतना लंबा नहीं होता है, 2 minutes max होता है. ठीक है, so it is again academic basically. Okay, so again they are explaining the way we took an example of photosynthesis yesterday. So here she or he, the professor, is just explaining the process of photosynthesis with proper topic definition and examples given to you. Okay,
Okay.
so you have to make notes of those examples because that's what are usually asked in your question. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, you get 20 seconds to prepare over here only because here you have only audio, you don't have reading material. That is why you get only 20 seconds to prepare. Now as I was saying, your total speaking is of 16 minutes, but if you observe, you speak only for 3 minutes 45 seconds.
Please
Okay,
can you pardon this?
yeah, as I was saying, your overall speaking task or speaking module is of 16 minutes only. Okay, but you speak only for 3 minutes 45 seconds, 60 seconds for each task, and first task you have only 45 seconds to speak. Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So whatever you speak in those 3 minutes 45 seconds, that's what you are scored on. Okay, so that is why you have to make sure you use those 3 minutes 45 seconds judiciously and you speak properly. Of course, the first thing that you have to make sure is that you speak. That's the first and foremost important thing. Okay, another thing that you have to remember, you speak grammatically correct. Okay, you don't use lot of pauses. Natural pauses are important, but don't take long pauses also because you will waste your time because you have only 60 seconds to speak, right? If you take a 5-second pause, you are wasting your 5 seconds over there where you could have spoken at least one sentence. So that's what you have to remember. Okay, another thing to make it easier for you, we'll be going through it together also. To make it easier for you, be ready with your starters. What do we mean by starters? The way you are going to start your answer. Now for the first question, I already told you, the way you see the question, you know what is your starting line. I prefer studying in a cafe. So you are already ready with your response, the first line that you are going to say. Because what happens is, you have given reading, you have given listening, and then you come to speaking. To start off, it's very difficult. Now imagine you have a car. When you are starting the car, it's a bit difficult. You have to use the instruments which are given to you in the car. But once the car is has started, it's easier to keep going, right? So that's why
Mhm.
when as soon as the timer starts, make sure you start speaking, because if you don't start speaking immediately, you waste your 2 3 seconds. Okay, and then you will not be able to conclude in the given time. So that is why you have to make sure you're ready with your first line. So as soon as the timer starts, you start speaking, and once you have started now, you will go on. Okay, you don't face any issue after that. Understood what I'm
Okay.
trying to say?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now let us watch a small video again to understand these two question types better. They are similar. Okay, I told you both the question types are similar over here, so we have a combined video for that. Okay, and I hope you are paying attention to the sample audios also that they are playing, because if
Yes,
you
ma'am.
observe the way they are speaking, it's very basic. Okay, they are making some mistakes also, but still they have got a good score, right? So observe
Okay.
that also.
Hi, I'm Michael from ETS, and welcome to Inside the TOEFL Test. Today, we're going to go inside the speaking section of the TOEFL test, specifically questions 3 and 4, the integrated speaking questions about academic courses. So in the next few minutes, we're going to look at how the questions are structured and what they're asking, how to approach the questions, how your responses are scored. We'll look at a sample response that received a high score, and we'll give you some tips for improving your speaking skills. So here is generally what the questions will look like and how they're structured. In question 3, you will read a passage about an academic subject. Then you will listen to part of a lecture on that same subject. You'll have 30 seconds to prepare your response and 60 seconds to speak your answer. In question 4, you listen to part of a lecture, then you will have 20 seconds to prepare your response and 60 seconds to speak your answer, which will always be a summary of the lecture. Now let's look more closely at what these academic courses questions look like and what they will be asking you to do. For question 3, the reading passage will always be about an important academic term or concept that might be found in a first-year college textbook. For example, a science reading might explain what a keystone species is. A reading from psychology might describe what is meant by emotional intelligence. In this example, the passage is about flow. The listening passage will be from part of a lecture about the same topic as the reading passage.
I think this will help you get a picture of what your textbook is describing.
In the lecture, you will hear details about an example of the term or concept.
I remember passing by a classroom early one morning just as he was leaving, and he looked terrible. His clothes were all rumpled, and he looked like he hadn't slept all night. And I asked if he was okay. I was surprised when he said that he never felt better, that he was totally happy. He had spent the entire night in the classroom working on a mathematics puzzle. He didn't stop to eat dinner. He didn't stop to sleep. So he worked furiously all night and covered the blackboards in the classroom with equations and numbers and never realized that time was passing by.
Then, when you answer the question, you will speak about how the example supports or illustrates the term or concept, like in this question about flow.
Explain flow and how the example used by the professor illustrates the concept.
For question 4, the listening passage is an excerpt from an academic lecture on a single topic. Usually it starts with the professor either defining a concept or highlighting an issue.
Human beings aren't the only animals that use tools. It's generally...
Then it will have examples that help explain or clarify the issue.
And in fact, there are two competing definitions. A narrow definition.
The question will ask you to explain the main concept or issue using the points and examples that were given in the lecture. So basically, it's a very straightforward summary. Here's the example of question 4 about tools.
Using points and examples from the talk, describe the two different definitions of tools given by the professor.
Now here are some tips for how to approach these kinds of speaking questions. Number 1, the topics for these questions can be from a variety of fields: life science, social science, physical science, history, art, literature. And although it's important that you practice with academic texts, The questions are designed so that you don't need any prior knowledge in a specific field to answer the question. In other words, even though a question is about an academic topic, ultimately it's not testing your knowledge of that topic. It's testing your English. Number 2, you're allowed to take notes during the test. So during the listening passages, write down a few key words or ideas on your scratch paper. Then use the preparation time to review your notes and prepare your response. Number 3, if you finish your response before time runs out, don't just repeat yourself to fill the remaining time. Say something that clarifies, develops, or elaborates on your response. Practice timing yourself so that you get used to the amount of time you have to answer a question. Before the test, make sure you understand what the raters are looking for and how the questions are scored. In the speaking section, all responses are scored on a scale from 0 to 4. And they're scored holistically, which means that the raters listen for various features in your response and then give it an overall score. Although there are some variations depending on the question, raters will be looking for 3 main things. First, delivery. Your speech needs to be clear and fluid, with good pronunciation. The pace or speed of your speech should be natural, and you should have good sounding intonation patterns. Second, language use. This is mainly how you use grammar and vocabulary to express your ideas. And third, topic development. This is mainly how fully you answer the question, how clearly you express your ideas, and how you can connect one idea to the next in a way that is easy to follow. Now let's listen to an example of a speaking response that received a score of 3 on a 4-point scale. This one is responding to the same question about flow.
Passage is talking about the general information about the flow, and the professor illustrates the example of that. And he said he met a friend who taught physics, and 3 years ago he accidentally met his friend, and he found that his friend's clothes were all rumpled, and he asked him he's okay, and he said the friend said he's so concentrated on the mathematic puzzle that he didn't sleep or rest, and also he didn't actually eat, and actually he thinks that his friend came across to the mathematic puzzle, and he couldn't realize that the time was passing by, and his friend actually was in the flow.
Now let's look at this response in terms of our 3 main criteria: delivery, language use, and topic development. The speaker's delivery is generally very clear, with good pronunciation.
Passage is talking about the general information about the flow, and the professor illustrates the example of that.
And while his pacing is often very good, sometimes his speech is a little choppy, and there are some hesitations that interrupt the flow of the speech.
And he said he met a friend who taught.
In terms of language use, his vocabulary and grammar are both solid, so no major issues there.
So concentrated on the mathematic puzzle that he didn't sleep or rest.
For topic development, although he does give an accurate summary of the professor's example about his friend who spent the whole night working on a mathematics puzzle, he never really explains what flow is. And that's the first part of the question.
Explain flow.
So he needed to do that, then explain how the example illustrated the concept. So overall, this meets all the criteria for a score of 3 out of 4. For more details about how the integrated speaking responses are scored, see the speaking scoring guides on the TOEFL website. Here are some activities that can help you build your skills for the integrated speaking tasks. 1. Develop your academic vocabulary. You should be reading academic texts for practice, so keep a list of important new words that you find, and practice pronouncing them. 2. Read a short news article, then record yourself summarizing it. Then create a transcript of the recording by writing down exactly what you said. Then review the transcript and think of other ways of saying the same thing. 3. Find textbooks in English that include study questions at the end of each chapter, and practice answering the questions out loud. Start with subjects you're familiar with, and then move on to less familiar subjects. 4. If you're recording yourself, collect your recordings in an audio journal. Ask your English teacher to evaluate your recordings using the TOEFL speaking rubrics. There are lots of ways to improve your English skills.
Okay, clear with this?
Yes, ma'am.
Any questions, anything you did not understand about speaking?
No, ma'am.
Okay, I have already explained the rubrics to you also, correct? Main thing is delivery, then the language usage, and the topic development. Okay, these three things you have to make sure while giving the response. Okay, as I said, each task is scored from 0 to 4. Overall you get maximum 16 points, and those 16 points are converted to the scale of 0 to 30. Okay, clear?
Yes.
Any
Yes, ma'am.
questions, anything that you did not understand in speaking? We'll be practicing speaking so you'll understand better. Okay, in the future
Yes, ma'am.
sessions. Any other questions you have as of now?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so we'll stop over here for today. We will continue in the next session, that is tomorrow, with the writing mostly.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Okay then. Mostly tomorrow I'll be taking the session in the morning. Okay, I'll message you by tonight around 10. I'll confirm the timing.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, chalo. I'll see you then. Bye bye.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Bye, ma'am.